in my hangar. My name is Tom Murphy, and I live in upstate New York, foothills of the Adirondack Mountains. And I've started a YouTube channel 4 or 5 months ago, maybe not that long ago. And I started out just to make the channel so that I could just, for my own video log, for my CH701, which is kind of off to the right of your screen. But I started putting up videos of getting the rudder, working on the rudder, and then going out to Mexico, Missouri, and looking at the CH701. I never attended a rudder workshop. I am not an engineer by no means. I guess you would say I'm intuitive engineering, make it up as you go along. But what I found with this project is there is no making it up as you go along. Very concise set of plans that come with the 701. So I followed those meticulously throughout the whole thing. Not saying I haven't had little screw ups here and there, a hole where it shouldn't be. But I'm doing it by the standards. I go to the standards and see what to do to rectify things. And there is aviation standards as far as making little mishaps, but fixing them as long as they're not full-blown problematic mishaps, which I have not run into yet. So anyways, I put some videos on. My YouTube channel is called Maple Ridge at Super Turbo 701. That's what I'm calling this plane. I've grabbed the name, the Super Turbo 701, because of what I have here in front of me. Now, I'm not a video guy. I don't edit. I don't go back and look at it. What I do is what I do. I try to know a little bit of what I'm talking about before I go into it, but I'm not an edit guy, so it's basically raw video footage of what I'm doing here today. When I originally started the 701 project, I looked at the engines, I looked at the Corvairs, I looked at the Jabiroos, I looked at the Rotac, the ULs. I looked at all the various types of engines that you could put on this, from various horsepowers from 80 horse up to 130 horse. Then I started talking with people that had the various engines. Now, if you talk to somebody that is in the FAA field, I don't even know what the terminology for it, certified aircraft engines. They will only go with a certified aircraft engine. You know, they're going to go with something that's been certified, FAA approved, and the parts cost 7 times what they would cost if you went to Napa and bought the same thing. So it is what it is. People want to buy what they want to buy, and if you want to go that route, go that route. I've got nothing against any of those engines other than the cost. I'm not a millionaire. I don't plan on flying this across the North Atlantic. I plan on doing flights around the farm country here in the Northeast. We do not have a lot of high density flying here. Maybe in July, 3 days. Other than that, you're either fighting snow flies or black flies. But I actually, after a lot of the studying that I did, I settled on Viking aircraft engines. I watched a lot of videos. I watched a lot of Zenith aircraft videos of guys that are flying using the Viking aircraft engine. So I decided I was going to go with the Honda 130 horse engine. So, and that all came about after following Dean Phillips, the Jug, J-U-G. He's from New Zealand. He flies his airplane like it's a part of him. He does these short takeoff and landing. He's in competitions with it, and he does very well at it. And he's a really nice guy. I was set on it. I had talked to Alyssa at Viking, and I was going with the 130. Then, all of a sudden, this engine was born. And it was 140 horse, and it was lighter than the 130 horse Honda. It's a brand new engine line to Viking, and they basically brought it online specifically to fit the 701. A lot of horsepower, a lot of torque, a lot of thrust, should work out well. Nobody knows. This is the first one going on a 701. Now Alyssa, Eigenfeller and her son are building a match drilled 701 as we speak. They're going to put the 140 horse turbo on theirs also. And what they call this is the baby turbo. What it is, it's a 1.2 liter GM, 140 horsepower, direct fuel injected, turbocharged engine. Now, my wife and I went down to Viking last fall, day after Thanksgiving. We took our RV and we drove down and I visited Viking and I talked to him. Almost up until the day before I went, I was still going to go with the 130 horse. I talked to Dean Phillips before I left to go visit Viking, and I talked to him for over an hour on the phone, and he told me that he's building a new 701 and he's going to put the 140 horse Viking engine on his new 701. And my thinking was, if it's good enough for Dean, it's plenty good enough for me. So this is it. It's a 140 horse turbocharged, direct fuel injected, 3-cylinder engine that is actually lighter than the Honda. And as far as weight of the engine, if you look at the comparable weights to the other engines of the same horsepower in its category, it's within a pound or so of the weight. So I'm okay there. I had a lot of time because we left on the 24th of March. My wife and I left and we headed for Florida on an airplane. Nothing I was flying. And we flew into Sanford, picked up our RV out of storage. Alyssa and Jan knew we were coming on the 25th. And I shot a text to Alyssa around 11 o'clock and told her we'd be there about noon. She said, good enough, we'll be here, come on in. So we drove into their shop with the RV and walked in the door. As soon as you go in their shop, I mean, Alyssa's there, she was working on her computer. They had help that were packing up and doing boxing, various things. And the dogs greet you. It's just a warm, kind of homey place when you go in there. You know, you don't get the feeling that you're just a number. You don't walk in, here's your engine, see you later. When we got there, this engine right here was on an engine stand, and Jan was sitting on a little cart, little stool, a little roller seat, and he was working on it. Now, I didn't know that was my engine until Alyssa spoke up, and she said, it's gonna be an hour or so. She goes, but just so you know, I have all my stuff done and ready to go. But yeah, excuse me, Jan's got a little bit of work to do on your engine still. And I said, no big deal. Yeah, I mean, we just got there, it was 80 degrees, it was nice out. We had just left a snowstorm. Excuse me again. So the heat was good, and what was nice about it is Jan didn't mind. He said, come on over, look at this. And it probably took him a little long, it probably took him longer because I was there than if I wasn't there. But he's the kind of guy, he takes the time out and shows you everything about the engine. You know, he points out different things, what he had to do to make the cowling fit, and just different things that he had to do. And I watched him for an hour. I mean, he was working on wiring the loom and doing stuff and just finishing up some touches. And it actually made me feel a little better. Not that I felt bad at all in the first place. I was basically 100% comfortable with going with the Viking after the homework that I've done. But just to see how meticulous Jan is when he's working on this stuff. I mean, he knows the ins and outs. He knows what everything is for. And I got to thinking when I was there, that's good. I don't have to know that stuff. He's already got it figured out. I don't have to know what the compression is. I don't have to know what the firing order is. I don't have to know how many pounds of pressure is in the fuel rail, or how much pressure it takes to run this high pressure pump. I don't have to know anything. All I have to know is I bought a product that had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into to make it right for its application. And then looking at it, you know, we loaded it. Jan put it on this crate and strapped it all down. I loaded it onto my RV. I put it up in the cabin or in the coach where I have a chair that goes in that straps to the floor, and there's two heavy duty hooks there to keep the chair from moving around. So I moved the chair out of the way, and we actually strapped this right on the floor in the RV. I ratchet strapped it down to it, and it followed us almost 1,300 miles. We drove home, and it never moved an inch. It was you know, even right to the crating, it's set up nice. We started driving home Monday afternoon, but we made a little vacation out of it. My wife Tracy was with me, and we were in the RV coming home. So, you know, we stopped every night at a different place. We stopped at an RV park for 2 days. We visited Washington, D.C. So when I get home at the end of the day from whatever various thing we were doing during the day, I get a chance to sit there at night and look at this. And I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I looked at it from the back and the front. You know, it's a brand new engine. You know, I took the oil fill out, and you look inside, there's nothing. It's brand new. Jan told me that he gets these engines, the cores, he's contracted through somebody to get them, and they get them, they're brand new, or maybe have 20 miles on them. This one doesn't look like it's got any miles on it. It's not been run. You know, I get looking at the front, the gear reduction, this reduction that's all Viking, that's on the front of this. It's just unbelievable how well made this is and polished. And when just looking at it on the engine, you think it's part of it. It came from the factory looking like this. But it didn't. Jan put all his engineering skills into designing all this. Now I had boxes with other components in it. I have a few things that have to come to me yet. The engine mount system that goes on the front of the 701 wasn't just right, and Jan told me, he goes, it's not just right, I'm going to make it perfect. It's handy because he has a firewall for a 701 because they're building one. So he's mocking up the engine mount for the engine on his firewall so that when I get it, I know that it's just going to be a plug and play type thing to go on. So I'm waiting. He told me it'd be just a week or so and he would have that done. He had it just about finished. I'm still waiting on the prop. That's coming right from Duck to me, the spinner of the prop. I still have the Viking view, and that's coming to me too. Originally, when I bought this engine, I was going to have to buy the manifold pressure gauge and the turbo, two other gauges that I was going to have to put in alongside of the Viking view because they didn't have the parameters set up in it to oversee the turbo on the engine. I asked Jan about it while I was down there, and lo and behold, he's getting it to work with their Viking view. So the engine monitoring system will have every parameter in it for this engine when I get it. So I won't need the other gauges. I don't need them right this second, so I'm fine with that. The intercooler he's sending me, I'm going to get that from him, but I've got the header tank, which is all pre-wired. It's all set up. The radiator I got the shrouds and everything for putting the radiator underneath the cabin. On this, I brought the cowling home. I have the muffler, the down pipe for the muffler off from the turbo. In the various bits and pieces for hoses for hooking everything up. I've got the spacer that goes on here. What else do I have? There was a bunch of other stuff in there too. Various fuel line fittings. I've got the firewall pass-through, nice Viking system that they got for that, for putting the wire, everything through the firewall. And other than that, I'm ready to go. So I opened up one of the boxes, and it was kind of neat. I didn't even know this was in there. I know Alyssa told me that there was a manual. I didn't realize I was going to open a manual up that said Tom Murphy, CH701 stall, Viking 140 turbo. And it's got the nice Viking emblem on it. It's kind of nice. it's what I see as going above and beyond. It's got the engine model, the serial number. It's got the parameters on the Viking 140 turbo, all the information as far as gearbox, compression ratio, bore and stroke, all that is in there. The Viking engine checklist, it's got the start checklist, the taxi, takeoff, flight, shutdown, all the little things that you should know to keep the engine running properly as far as cool down and whatnot. I started this plane, like I said, 2 years ago, this March, and I don't even have a pilot's license yet. I'm working on that right now, so I'm basically building the plane that is going to be my first plane, is something I built. And I've always wanted to do that for a few years, and it takes time, and I'm finally in a position in life where I can do it without breaking the bank. And this checklist is something that's handy to me because it's not just common knowledge to me when I get in an aircraft, you know, to check this, do that. I mean, it'll come, but this is a manual that I can keep right in the aircraft and have a tab on that and go to this checklist. Like any good pilot would do, is check their checklist before taking off. Then farther in the manual, it's got the Viking engine annual inspection. It's got everything you need to do for the annual inspection. Right down through here, it's got everything in it as far as the prop assembly, gearbox, engine, radiator, exhaust. I thought, you know, that's pretty neat. And then I go on farther to look, and I didn't even know this was in here until going through it. It's actually got the annual inspection for the CH701. You know, so they go above and beyond. It's like outside inspection, the hell hole, the rudder, the horizontal stay, and the elevator, the wings, the flaperons, the bottom of the plane, the nose wheel, the interior, and the brake pedals and control stick, lift arm, rest, inspect linkages, wiring and tunnel, headphone jacks, windows for cracks. And then it goes on with some wiring. It's got some various wiring stuff in here that could be good, right down to a heater. If I wanted to put the heater, which I probably will get Viking's heater and put it in this. Right here, it tells you how the heater goes in. So, handy little book right there. Something to keep, you know, I'll keep that in a slot right up on the side of the luggage rack on the back of the engine. I'm going to grab my camera and just bring it over here and just kind of look so you can see this engine kind of up close. Now you can go to Viking Engines, their webpage, they have a YouTube channel, they have Viking Engine Prospects is where I follow a lot. Jan actually has how to install videos on the various motors that they sell. There really isn't one out for this. Jan did put this on his 650 low wing Zenith, and he's been flying it. He's got quite a few hours. It's been working well. He's about to, here shortly, he's going to do a longevity test on it and really put some hours on it and run it through the motions to see if there's any problems that he has to troubleshoot down the road. He doesn't really see any problems coming, but you never know. It's a brand new engine, and this engine, again, will be the first 140 horse engine put on a CH701. So I'm going to grab my camera and just kind of do a close-up around on this. Coming up to it, the first thing you're going to see is the gear reduction. How nice that is, you know, it's very well made. It has different various holes in it because it's a universal plate. So they've made that so this can go to their various different engines where it bolts on. And then there's a nice sight glass for the oil on that, quick and easy to check. You can see the torsion dampener down in there. And that's to keep, that's an anti-vibration unit that on the output shaft of the engine. And probably if you have a prop strike or something on the front, that's gonna that right there is going to give before anything else gives. So it'll keep from doing any type of injury to the engine. You know, basically the gearbox would have to come off, and I'd send that back to Viking. Hopefully I don't have a prop strike, but I'm walking around this side. You can see the turbo. I do not have the flange and the downspout, the downpipe on it yet. That's your boost monitor here. This turbo is cooled two different ways. It's oil cooled and water cooled. Here's a water cooled line. This is engine oil. The oil comes in here and comes out this tube and goes back in, and then it's got a line in the back for the water. Then it's got the nice air filter. It's started to be plumbed right here, and this is going to be for the intercooler for the turbo, which will come over, and that'll get mounted someplace over here on the side. I'm not 100% sure where it's going to go, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be right along here somewhere. And then that'll end up following through, and it'll hook back to the bottom of the throttle body. The starter's got a nice cover on it. You can see the engine mounts there for Viking, from Viking. This will be for my throttle connections. Alternators in a nice spot. The belt and everything is just very simple. And I mean, looking at this engine, it's just a nice clean. You can see the engine mounts here, here, and here, put on the back. All around, just, it's a brand new engine. And I bought this engine, firewall forward package, plus more, because I've got stuff that goes, you know, the header tank, everything that goes with this. And I'm not going to use the word cheap. It's obviously not cheap. Looking at it, there's nothing cheap about this. But to other engines in the comparable horsepower range, I bought my whole entire firewall forward package with all the components, every single thing I need to mount this on a plane and have it run, for about the same price as just the engine for a comparable horsepowered engine. Other lines. You can find them cheaper. They do have a knockoff of the Rotac. There's some guys using it. And I know one, I follow the videos from Matt up in Canada. He's got one, I can't think of the name of what the engine is, and he's got it in his 701, and he's got quite a few hours on it, and it's working very good. And that engine, at the time he bought it, he said was about a third of the price of a Rotac. So I've got a lot of money invested into this. There's nothing cheap about it, but it was a route that I went that I could afford, and I went with a reputable company, Viking, and they've got a lot of engines in the air, so I couldn't see going wrong. On my YouTube channel, Maple Ridge, I do not have any pictures of the plane this far. I've just been doing videos starting from the beginning and just putting them up every week or so, just little excerpts of what I've been doing. So this is actually the first time the plane is going to be in this far along on my video, so I might as well go around it. It's a little tail heavy at the moment. That's why I've got it sitting on the sawhorse back there, because I've got the horizontal stabilizer, the elevator, and a rudder on it. I'll start in the front. So if you look at this, I did go with the Viking steel bungee system. That's mounted. It's loose in there. I'm going to have to do some adjusting on that once I put the engine on it. But I got rid of the bungee here. I just thought that just looked like a little heavier. I've heard people say they rattle a little bit, but it's not a bungee cord. It's a spring, and guys that have them seem to like them. I do have, I've got the bearings in place. Then these are just in there for right now. I've got to torque everything down, but and I got to put the wires, safety wires and stuff on that, you know, and I'm just fitting stuff. So I've got my steering linkages through. The sides are done. My seat pans are done. I've got them all mocked up, but they're not, they're just clecoed in place because I've got to get in there to do my controls. I did order originally, I had the flap-around control that came with the Zenith, which was either on or off. I decided after talking to people to go with this, to have the 4-position flap-around control, just so that I've got flap-around control. I've actually got some flaps. I can set 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees. The struts, the landing gear struts are in place. I've got the wheels mounted, holding air. I've got my brakes on, no lines ran yet. I've got the little cargo area is all done up in there. The rudder pedals are in place with the brake pistons are mounted and ready to go. None of that's been torqued down yet. It's just been put in place. And walking to the back, the horizontal stabilizer is just clamped on there right now. I just set it up on there, just kind of dry fitting it to see how it was going to go. I've got to put a string line from the very front right here. I got to run a string line all the way to the very back here on top. And then wherever that string is here, it's going to be someplace along that line, maybe a little higher. There's a measurement from here up to the bottom of the horizontal stabilizer, how high that's supposed to be away from the fuselage tail. And then this horizontal stab will be level on top. It'll be set level to the top of the cabin. So I got to make the cabin flat. The very top of the cabin's got to be level, and then I will level this at the proper height. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to pull my elevator off, which is just clecoed in place right now. I can't move the elevator a whole lot because I've got clecos in the back there on the rudder itself. But with the rudder off, I get full deflection. I have to put the stops on the elevator still, and I still have to put my stops for the rudder. But I wanted to check to make sure. I mean, everything here is just very, very nice. Moves very freely. Matter of fact, it's moving still. The cutouts are all done. I've got it's all set up for the cable for the elevator, top and bottom. I've got my hinge pins in place here. Everything's been done. The horn on the elevator, on the rudder, is in place. And then coming back around this side, I got the same thing over here. It's all done. All of this stuff has been torqued. All these bolts have been torqued. Everything under the seat has been torqued per the plans. And there's another shot of the rudder pedals. So it's coming along pretty good. There's a shot of the engine again. Then you'll notice up on a rack on the wall back here, I've got all my flaperons are made. My leading edge slats are all made and up there. And then if we go over here, I'm going to just go up this ladder really quick. And this is my right wing skeleton, is all ready to go. That's basically ready for skin. So I'm going to be working on that pretty quick. It's finally getting a little warmer up here in the Northeast, so I can work out in the garage again, or the hangar as I like to call it, even though I do not have hangar doors. It's going to be tough to get this out of here. I originally had the folding wing option for this plane, and I sent it back and basically traded that in for a bunch more Clecos and that 4-position flap-ron lever. So I'm not putting folding wings on it. After talking with people, it's just as quick to take the wings off as it is to fold them. You still have to drain the fuel out of the wings and everything. But what I'm going to build is, my runway is going to be just down my driveway a little ways. I'm going to put a nice little 3-sided hangar building down there for it. So hopefully in the next week or so I get an engine mount and I'll start mounting this engine. Again, like I said, this will be the first time this engine has been mounted on a 701. And if you want to see my videos, then go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like, and follow me along on this venture. Sooner or later I'm going to have this engine running on here, and shortly after that I'll get it outside, and hopefully in the next 2 months I have the wings done and the controls all in, and I can take it outside and fire it up and hopefully get this thing airborne before too long. I'm not going to pick a day that it's going to be airborne, because if I pick a day, I'm going to not hit that day. So again, if you like my videos and you want to follow along with me, subscribe, Maple Ridge at Super Turbo 701, and hit the like and go on a journey with me. So this is Tom Murphy signing off. Till next time.